Hello there and welcome to Black Jackal Gaming. Is it worth taking Terminator characters and squads of Terminator? Well, take a look at who can join these squads, so the Assault Squad, the Relic and the normal Terminator Squad, what buffs they might get, and whether it just amounts to too many points or not. So who can join a Terminator Squad? Pretty much anyone that is wearing Terminator armor. So you've got the new Librarian and Captain that come out with the Leviathan set. You've got the Chaplain in Terminator armor who's a bit more old, and you've got the Terminator Ancient as well. So all of these can join the squad. They'll all join individually apart from the Ancient that can join the squad when one of the others have already joined them. So what vehicles can these guys ride in? Well, they're a little bit more limited than other options. So you can get them in a Land Raider for 7 models. So that's quite useful if you want to take a 5-man with an Ancient and one of the other options, because you can fit them in. There is the Land Raider Crusader, which allows you to take 8, which is a little bit more on the pointless side, because you can't take an 8-man squad anyway. The Repulsor takes 6 models. The Storm Raven gunship takes 6 models, and you do always have the option of teleport striking in, so you don't have to consider how many models can actually fit in the manner you want to get your unit to move around the tabletop. There is also the option of the Repulsor Executioner, but it can only fit 3 models, so unless you're just looking to run Terminator characters by themselves, this isn't really an option available to you. So what buffs do these Terminator clad characters give out? So we'll start with the Librarian. He comes in at 90 points. Now he gives you a 4-up Feel No Pain against psychic attacks and sustained hit 1 for all weapons, so that's range and melee. So that's quite a powerful buff to have. Next up we have the Captain on 95 points. So once per battle round, this unit can be targeted for a stratagem that will cost 0 CP. You can do this even if the strat you want to use has already been used this battle round on another unit. So it gives you a little bit of flexibility to double up on some stratagems you want to use again, and also frees up a little bit of CP for you to use for other things later on. He also has the ability to reroll charge rolls for the unit, so that's quite handy if you're coming out a teleport strike trying to charge someone right off the bat. And also just later in the game, with you being a slower unit of 5 inches, that additional reroll for free just allows you to get into combat a little bit more. So it's not going to be the most popular choice potentially if you're more looking just to hold on to objectives. But he is a good option if you want to be a little bit more aggressive within a more assault orientated Terminator squad. Next we have the Chaplain. He comes in at 90 points as well. He gives you +1 to your melee roll to wound, which is quite handy for the assault variant. So when you're charging in, as soon as you get that first hit off, you can then get +1 to your wound roll, just to add a little bit of additional damage. This is quite handy if you've got lightning claws as well, because you've already got a built-in reroll, so making it even more consistent for getting those wounds to go through and force your opponent to make a save roll. He also comes with a 4-up Feel No Pain versus mortal wounds, so it is slightly better than the psychic attacks for the Librarian. So any mortal wounds, such as those caused by devastating wounds, you'll get a 4-up Feel No Pain with him. So he's quite good, especially if you want to get into combat with people. The final one, coming in at an incredibly pricey 90 points, is the Ancient. Now, he adds 1 to the objective control for all models on the unit, so not the most useful. And then if you're below starting strength, you get +1 to your hit roll, and if you're below half strength, you get +1 to your wound roll. So they're 2 very good buffs. But unfortunately, you have to take a lot of damage for this to come into effect, so it limits the amount of damage you can actually output through this. So with a buff just enables a unit to punch a little bit harder as it's about to die, it's not the best of buffs. It'd be nice if this was just souped up a little bit more so they had a little bit more utility, especially coming at a 90-point model. Now I know you can give this guy the same loadout as the Terminator squad, but 90 points for essentially the same model with a couple of extra wounds, and then gives you a nice little buff if you're almost dead, is quite pricey, as he's essentially costing 2.5 Terminators. If you're already spending around 200 points on the squad and you're putting an Ancient in at 290, then putting another character on top of that, which is a perk of having the Ancient, makes it a little bit difficult, because when you're looking at around 380 points just for one unit, that's a lot of points put into one unit, and that's not even including any transport you might want to include. And if you do want to have them as a deep striking unit in the teleportarium, then it limits how long they can be on the tabletop, and there are ways in which your opponent can screen them out, so they're not as effective as you could possibly want them to be. Now, the enhancements for the Space Marines are a little bit on the lackluster side, because 3 of the 4 are a buff just for the model that's got the enhancement. So the one you want to look at is Bolted Discipline, which gives you sustained hit 1 and turns critical hits to a 5+ rather than 6+. So you're generating an additional hit on every 5+. So this is quite a nice little buff to have, but you are essentially already getting it with a Librarian. So if you want to put it on another model, you're getting a slightly better version of it for a model that's going to be coming in 110 to 15 points. Now, they do have other buffs that come with this as well, but it's quite pricey on top of it when you can just take the Librarian anyway, which is going to essentially give you the same thing. Now, all of the options do give you utility. None of them, apart from the Ancient being incredibly expensive, are ones that will be left on the shelf. They all have their purpose depending on how you want to play the game and how you want your units to interact. But the one that's probably the most cookie cutter one that will see the most play just through its flexibility and the buff being quite nice is the Librarian, especially since he does come with a psychic attack, so he has a little bit more offensive output than the other options around you. I can see him being included in a lot of lists, especially when there are not many ways to get devastating wounds within your list. So having that little bit ability to output further damage, a Storm Bolter or essentially a Combi Bolter, which you get with the other options, gives you that little bit more flexibility to take on some slightly tougher units as well as clear out some chaff at the same time. Thank you for watching the video. If you have any comments, then pop them below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video, then please hit the like button, as it greatly helps the channel. Hit the subscribe button to see any future Warhammer content. Take it easy, and see you next time for more grim darkness from the 41st millennium.